The assembly resumes. Yes, honorable members, we are going to continue from where we stopped, and it's debate on the report of the Select Committee on Agriculture. Now I give the floor to the member for Fonyi Bintang Karanai.
Thank you so very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. It is important that the Gambia moves along the line like other nations are moving. I am also a member of the committee, that is the Agriculture Committee. And this document, we review it, we find it to be very important. Some time back, I have some investors that wanted to invest in agriculture, specifically in Fonyi Bintang Karana. They requested for soil mapping to know the fertility of the soil and what type of crop can they grow. But for the simple fact that I could not have that here in this country, then those investors lose faith. So these things have come at the right time for us to know what crop to grow at where, which is very, very important for the country and is also going to improve the agriculture sector greatly. And then people will not be blindly growing crops wherever they feel like, but will actually know which crop will be grown at where. That being said, we have given the full blessing to it. The country cannot develop in the absence of agriculture. So now the Ministry of Agriculture is their sole responsibility to monitor the project and to put the interests of the nation first in making sure that the project fully succeeds in the implementation and everything. So it serves the interests of the Gambian people at all costs. So, Honorable Speaker, on that note, without wasting much time, I thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. I now invite the member for Banjul South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, like my colleagues, I would like to applaud the Agriculture and Rural Development Committee for taking this initiative and coming up with a report. But notwithstanding, they say that if a horse is running, we should continue beating them to run faster, especially if the need arises. Gambia is in a dire situation. Mr. Speaker, according to WFP, there has been a persistent decline in food security in the country. And in their 2018-2019 report, the pre-harvest assessment showed the prevalence of food security was 42%, of which 35% was moderately food insecure. And of that 35, 7% was severely food secure. And that is a cause for concern. It's not that we don't have the space. It's not that we don't have the water. It's only prioritizing. It's only having the empathy, the sympathy, and taking up responsibility to be able to feed our own people rather than filling up our pockets. The honorable member for Lower Salum said that instead of people putting things where they should be, they put them in their pocket. That wasn't exactly what he said, but he his hand in his pockets. And I think, I'm not only saying this government, that is what the Gambia has been doing for quite a long time. So now we need selfless leadership. Instead of, I would say it, excuse my language, but selfish, self-interested people that are at the helm of the affairs of our country. We are particularly concerned of what we can go home with, what we can get, instead of developing the nation as we wish, as the oaths that we take when we take office. Mr. Speaker, in March of 2019, it was reported that the current situation of the country, we had at least 450,000 people that could not have food, that were food insecure in this country. And that was expected to increase to 600,000. That is over 26 plus 22% of our population. And most of these are children. And if we do not feed our children, Mr. Speaker, we are depriving our state of future generation. So I think I would call on my colleagues not only to support this, but also to make sure that the monies go where they are meant to go. One of my colleagues did mention that 1 million was not enough and that we can fund it ourselves, and I agree 100%. It was in this August Assembly, few months ago, we approved the increment of the Meet the People store, I think from 10 million to 17, if correct me if I'm wrong, from 6 to 10, if I'm wrong. From 6 to 10, okay. And also, and I would always say it, the feeding of the president is exorbitantly very high. We elect you to lead us, but we did not elect you to feed you. And I will say it again and again and again.
Point of order.
Have to feed.
Point of order.
We have to feed.
Point of order, Honorable
our
Speaker.
country.
The point of order, can you please take your seat?
Honorable Speaker, thank you so
Member
much.
Sabasanya, can you hear the point of order?
I'm standing on point of order 29, content of speeches. Every member shall restrict his or her observation to the subject under discussion. The subject under discussion is the report of the Committee on Agriculture and not about the feeding of the president. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Sabasanya. Member for Banjul South, please let's direct ourselves and limit ourselves to the report and the subject matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. But when we are talking about feeding, we are also talking about feeding our leaders and feeding ourselves, because we are trying to cultivate our soil to be able to feed ourselves. And I'm trying to say that we shouldn't waste. I am in order, Mr. Speaker, because we are talking about feeding. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, this Agri Committee have done a great job, but they should have also gone to the FPAC report to look at the recommendations that the joint committees came up with for the Agriculture Department. And the land and irrigation development was also one of the recommendations. And I think this will complement that. Also, recommendation number 9, research and development. So I'm not saying that I do not support this, but again, I'm saying about assuming responsibilities and judiciously using resources, especially resources that we are borrowing. I'm not against borrowing, But when we borrow, like one member said, we should invest. And probably this might be an investment. But again, we always aim to invest, but we always badly invest because we embezzle. We take things, pay ourselves what we are not supposed to be paying ourselves. So I think let us return ourselves and think of the oaths that we have taken. The Honorable Minister is here. Maybe, I'm not sure, but the Constitution says that when we appoint ministers, they should have knowledge of the departments that they are given to man. I don't know him, I've not seen him, but I hope that he has that knowledge to be able to guide this. Because it says here that the auditing, it says in addition to this, a project steering committee comprising highly placed senior government and non-government officials will be monitoring the implementation progress. I just hope and pray that he has time to monitor this and reduce the time that he spends politicking. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Banjul. I now give the floor to the member for Sabak Sanjal.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I wish to also congratulate the Select Committee on Agriculture for doing justice to the report and also to the agreement that was given to them. Actually, whenever you talk about things that has to do with agriculture, I always want to put my inputs on it because the people that I represent, I can say 90% of them are old farmers and they depend on farming only. So coming up with something that would accelerate and help us to what? Gain more and also to harvest more. That is how I can put it. Because if you know the fertility of the particular land in which you are growing, actually you would know what kind of crops that land deserves to be grown. Definitely, I would also want to join my honorable colleagues to support this and also to say to my other honorable colleagues that let us not use this chamber to show up our political differences. Let us use it to support when the need arises. This is a bill, this is a report that will definitely help us, and it is a report that would help us to attain food self-sufficiency. And if we are here calling ourselves honorable members who are here to represent our people.
There's point of order.
Speaker.
There's point of order. Honorable Member for Sabah Sanjal, please take your seat.
Mr. Speaker, this honorable member
Sorry.
has just called
Order, please, please.
29 content of speech.
Please.
Mr. Speaker,
Hello?
content of speech.
Sorry.
29.
Honorable Member, I'm not getting you.
29.5. Mr. Speaker, this honorable member.
Read the clause. Read
No
the
member
clause.
shall impute improper motive to any other member. Mr. Speaker, this honorable
Point of
member.
order, Honorable Speaker.
Give it as
Point of order.
And he has
Order,
opened his
order,
order.
please.
We are honorable
Honorable Member,
members,
wait,
we should
please.
respect.
Honorable Member, please, take your seat, please. Honorable Member, please. Order, please. Please, let's allow her, put off your mic, please. Let's allow her to put forward her point of order. If you have, as I said earlier on, any one of you have point of order or observation or correction, you have all the liberties to do so. Please.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, no, there is a point of order. Let me finish first. I'll come to you. Honorable member, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are talking about this report. We are not talking about political action.
Honorable member, you are
I think
raising
it's-
on what point of order and on what
I
subject?
think content of speech, 29.5. No member shall impute improper motive to any other member. And he's saying that members should not show their political affiliation. Can he show me what part of that is in this report? Thank you. Mr. Speaker.
Sorry, honorable member, please. Here's that statement. He's not putting an improper motive on members. Honorable nominated member Faduke Jawara.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm rising on order 32, permissible interruption. No member except the Speaker shall interrupt another member. So the Honorable member for Banjul South automatically interrupt the member for Sabak Sanjal. So that is unacceptable.
Thank you, nominated member Faduke Jawara. Member for Brikama North.
Now, Honorable Speaker, fine. I think you need to make a ruling on that point of order.
Honorable.
Yes, I said you need to make a ruling on that point of order.
No, honorable member, you said you are rising to a point of order.
No. I only want to draw attention.
No.
No, I did not say that I'm raising a point of order.
Oh.
When the point of order was raised, you thank the member but did not make a ruling. Now, whether it is in conformity with the action of the Honorable Member of Banjul South, we want to know that. But as far as I know, there is no interruption.
You are not the chair, minority leader. Allow the chair to take a ruling on that. You cannot defend her. You are not the chair. Resume your seat. You cannot defend her. Allow the speaker to do the ruling. And
I am addressing the speaker.
on that. The concern. You are allowed the chair to do it. Not you. Can you put your hands in order? They cannot be on side.
Honorable members, nominated member Faduke Jawara, please.
The speaker have to do
Honorable
the
member,
ruling, not you.
no. Order, please. Order. Honorable members, please, order. Let's maintain decorum. Yes. Honorable member for Brikama North, nominated member, the honorable member for Banjul South, I said earlier on, anyone who want to rise to point of order or observation or correction may do so by show of constituency tag to catch my eye. And the member for Banjul South in this instant rose to a point of order. The member for Janjamure?
Yes, I please want to...
Are you rising to a point of
On
order?
an observation, please, Mr. Speaker.
Who are you observing, sir?
The Speaker and the nature of the chambers. Hey, Harold. Not just the Speaker, but the way...
Honorable member.
Wait.
Honorable member for Janjamure, please take your seat, sir. Please. Now, the member for Sabasanja, please continue.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that looking at the development objectives of the project, you realize that by the end of the project, better knowledge of the spatial extent of social properties, soil fertility and nutrient status, and also factors affecting soil inherit, nutrient supply, capacity, and fertilizer recovery fractions will be known. And that would definitely be very beneficial to our motherland. If we look at the component A, according to the report tabled by the Honorable Chair of the Select Committee on Agriculture, the project will also develop and validate fertilizer formulation and rates for identified priorities, crops, and for other future crops, develop fertilizers that address crop-specific in every area of this country. So that would definitely help us, because you realize that some of our farmers are just doing it randomly. No, thank you so much. Thank you, please. Just allow me to continue. For the benefit of time, I just want to continue. Actually, our farmers now are just randomly growing their crops, irrespective of the area that they are occupying, without even realizing or without even doing a specific investigation to know whether this particular crop is feasible to be grown in that particular land. So if we have this report, if we have this done, definitely it will help us, like I said, and also it will accelerate what we call food self-sufficiency. Back in the days in my area, when you bring this imported rice to my area, you realize that the people will tell you that we don't like it because it has a specific taste that we cannot even eat. We used to grow our own rice, and which will later be transported to the people of Banjul who don't have sufficient rice by then. So I thank you so much for supporting this idea.
Thank you very much, member for Sabah Sanjal. I now give the floor to the member for Basse.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. First of all, I have to thank the Honorable Minister for Agriculture for coming up with this project and the loan agreement. It is long overdue. And also, I have to thank the committee through the chair for looking at the merits and demerits of this project and the loan. In doing so, the committee also have looked into this project agreement, and they have came with almost 4 bullet points of recommendations, which also will help a lot in implementing this project when the loan is being acquired. First is the project with the implementation, that's the personnel of the ministry will be the one to implement this project within the institutions, within the ministry. And I think that will address the problems which was affecting the ministry. When there are projects, you see civil servants from other ministries jumping and trying to rush and get these appointments to be project managers or project coordinators. And at the end of the day, they will not implement as it is expected. But with this recommendation by the committee, it will address that problem. So the ministry will consider staffs within the ministry or within the institutions of the ministry who at least have the experience and the expertise to at least to implement this project. The other one was the lab, which will be at CRR, and I think it is needful for it to be there because it's the land or the agriculture site is in CRR, especially. It's where it is more demanding than for it to be around the Greater Banjul area. And also the sustainability, that is the equipment or the machinery, so that it will be sustainable, because most of the time when equipments are bought, in fact, for you to sustain them or for you to have the right people to maintain those equipments to serve its purpose is a problem. But looking at the recommendations, I think it will help, because there is also a warranty attached to it, whereby it will serve its purpose. In doing all these things, I think the committee also makes so many considerations or the importance of this project or the loan. In addition to those ones which the committee have highlighted in the report, I just identify 2 to be added onto it, or even to consider the importance of this soil mapping. It also helps us to identify the texture of the soil to allow us to know which sort of fertilizer we use for everywhere or for every moment or every place. Because if you don't know the soil, the texture or the fertility, you will not know exactly which type of fertilizer you're going to apply. At times it affects the farmers. At times they use the wrong fertilizer at a wrong place. At times, that affects even the productivity of the farmers around the provinces. It also helped to the composition and features and also the specifications of the agricultural lands, that is the cultivation, the land cultivation. It also helped us in the compositions and the features of these specifications of the lands. Because with this soil facility or the soil mapping will help us at least to specify or to know exactly which crop is suitable for which land and which area is suitable. Because at times, our provinces is difficult for them to identify. You will see one farmer will be cultivating rice or will be cultivating maize for 4 or 5 years on one farm without even knowing whether it is suitable for this year or not. They keep on cultivating at the same time, and every year it will affect. They spend more money on fertilizer when the land is already been exhausted and they cannot use it anymore. Honorable Speaker, I think with some of these points highlighted in the reports and in addition to what I have also highlighted, I think that will also help the committee in order to at least consider this report or this loan being approved and give the opportunity to the agri to implement this project. Thank you. So.
Thank you, member for Basse. And I'll give the floor to the member for Joshua.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I will also join my colleagues to thank the chair and his committee members for the assignment that was given to them, and then they came out with a report. Honorable Speaker, I think when the loan agreement was first passed here at the Parliament, there was a reason why it was sent back to the committee. One of it was, first, the amount, we made clear of the amount, and number two, also, looking at the disbursement within the ministry, some queries were made on how most of these monies were being disbursed. At least if you look at the loan of 1 million, maybe 40% of that 1 million has gone to allowances, vehicles, and then fuel and lubricants. So this were queries that were made last time, so that it was sent to them for them to come up with something. But looking at their recommendation, none of this area was touched. Honorable Speaker, to the Minister of Agriculture, as the Wolof proverb always say, "Kuntu flinga toy." I think it is high time now we sit and ask ourselves, why is everybody talking about us? It's about the hope and interest that people have in the field and also in that ministry that can change the scenario of this country. Honorable Speaker, we are all in agreement about the loan and then the purpose of the loan, which is very, very important. It's about to map the soil fertility of this country. Yes, it's important. Yes, we are in agreement. But at the end point of it, the people concerned needs to be part of it. Here is a country that we always think of the top. We talk about farmers in this country. When do we normally involve them? When we are making our own decisions. We have farmers here within the parliament here, but I call them so-called farmers. There are ones who are very strong in farming, because I saw a farm of one of my colleagues, Seri Jawara, in which I will recommend to the minister to assist him, because he's a very good farmer. I saw his very big farm. Honorable Minister, I think it is important when projects comes in, let's go to the ground, ask the farmers what their needs are. What do they want? How do they want it to be done? And let them see that this thing is our own thing. That only taking steps from the office to go and monitor somebody on the ground. At the end of the day, it becomes a failure. We talk of, the support area. There are a lot of equipment in that area. Those equipments that were there for years, but they were only meant to be trained for a certain number of people. When they are no more there, that's the end. It is good we train our technocrats, but it's also good to train our people on the ground. In case there is nobody, they are not available at that time, maybe the local person on the ground can operate the machine. We have intelligent young Gambians in this country. We have intelligent farmers in this country. Yes, they are not educated. But the farmer who sat down and think of what to grow this year, that this year I grow ground and I didn't have what I want. Let me go in for kush. It's very intelligent. And it's somebody who can think in a very smart manner. Who can say, yes, today there will be rain. There is no be left behind. Honorable Speaker, I think it is high time now for us Gambians. We're just from China. One of the colleagues has mentioned it. What transformed China is agriculture. And they don't have what we have. We have the River Gambia. In China, every corner of China, anywhere you go, they created their own artificial river. Their own river. Anywhere you go. Here we have ours. But are you making good use of it? No. Projects comes and go. Yes, we'll approve this. They come and do this study for us. But after giving us the report, let's go back to the grassroots and tell them that this year, Sierra should grow granite, North Bank should grow maize, and this area should grow this. When we understand each other in doing that, I think the country will change. But if you come to the Sierra family who say, you should not grow kush as we believe in cherry, it's going to be a problem. But that mentality should change now, that this soil is no more fertile for this. We start doing mixed farming. But it's through our technocrat in that ministry who should help. And Honorable Speaker, I think also it's important also, the fertilizer coming to this country, we need to look at it properly. Yes, it is sent to us. We complain. During in the early 80s, 70s, it was not something that we can always talk about, fertilizer. But now farmers will even sit down and say we don't have fertilizer. We are not expecting a good yield this year. Go to the instant fertilizer. Before we have good yield without fertilizer. We have good yield without fertilizer. Why not now? Are we having the right fertilizer for the Gambia? I went on a trip to Belgium with one of my colleagues. The farmers were on a strike. Why? Because the fertilizer was supplied, there wasn't the right fertilizer, and they were on strike. But here our farmers, are they trained to know what they're supposed to have? Is it every year to have NPK and urea every year? Is it every year that they should do NPK on the same soil? So this test, when it comes, please, let's open it. The machine that they have recommended for us to buy, not only buying the machine and having parts that can take it for only 1-2 years. No, let it be a machine that can be changeable. A machine that can be in operation for years. If it has a problem, we cannot just sit and wait for an expert coming from India to come and repair it for us. Let the expert be here to repair it for us. Then waiting for an expert to come from outside where we have to pay your ticket and everything, or we have to wait for days before it comes to repair that machine, then everybody got discouraged. So let it be a machine that when it comes here, it can be taken care of here, it can be maintained in this country without no problem. Because we have to start minimizing costs. For us, as I always say, we have very intelligent Gambians in this country. And if we make good use of them, we can have what we want. Honorable Speaker, still on the Ministry of Agriculture, yes, we talk about loans and grants. Because yes, they always go to the ministry. And it's always Ministry of Agriculture are given the priority to give us what we want. I think it's now time we change. Thank God that the Minister of Higher Education is here. Today I heard him talking on West Coast Radio about the TVEC project that they are, trying to introduce in the country, and they are doing a very good job on that. I think the idea is very good. And when you work together as a team, not only the Ministry of Higher Education, let's team up and see what we can do to give the country what is one. The area that he was explaining today at this radio, with Peter Gomez, we have very good ideas. And then, he's like, he's ready for it. So team up with him, sit together and discuss as a team and see what is possible for this country. When those experts are here, let's make good use of them. And then we have very intelligent Gambians in this country who went abroad, studied, and they are here. And they can do as those people can do. Let's make good use of them. They are here. This serial fisherman in Old Joshua can teach somebody how
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, member for Joshua, there's point of order. Can we hear from the member for Fonyi Pintanka?
Point of order 29. 1. Every member shall restrict his or her observation to the subject under discussion. And the honorable member for Joshua is deviating.
Honorable member for Joshua, if that's so, please confine yourself to the subject matter.
No, I want you to help me because I don't know which area have I deviated. I think I'm on track. Why should I say sorry? Honorable Speaker, just as I mentioned, we are here as a country, not as an individual. Let's come together and work as a team. Just as I was saying, I was trying to build up something and it's trying to distract me, but you cannot. This is a serious man talking. Let's see Gambia and develop this country. And the Minister of Agriculture, everything is in your hand. Everything is in your hand. Honest to God and Nabi. And if you are ready, we can do it. If you are honest to God, we can do it. And please, let us not forget these farmers. Let's see them as people who can transform this country. He remembered us the 7 farmers in China. They are 7 in number, but they are still honored. Why are they honoring them? Because they started it from the grassroots. And they work very hard to transform China. And it's through agriculture. So it is time now the agri-ministry to stand very firm to see that this country change. We have what we want and get what we want and be where we want to be. I ate rice in China, and most of this rice comes from China and other countries. But the rice we are eating here and the rice we are eating there are different. Why? Because it's theirs. We don't have any more Baramano now, not Dempeteng now. Why is it happening now? There used to be Baramano and Malosose. In Bani we call it Malosose. It's no more happening. And those guys are still here. They can still give us Baramano and Malosose. And Dempeteng, it's no more happening. Why is it happening? Kora cannot bring me Dempeteng anymore. You don't know Dempeteng as a Mandinka. Dempeteng is there. It's Dempeteng. This one is. You know what I'm saying? So please, let's go back to those old days and then take things on our own. To know Gambia, we need to change this country. And Honorable Minister, I will say point at you to say, Honorable Speaker, to Honorable Minister, he's a fuller. Let's change this country and everything is in your hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, member for Joshua. I think the China trip is paying a lot of dividends. we had one member talks about their population. I think China has 1,400 million people. They're able to feed themselves. So, yeah, that's 1,400 million. So the other member also is still talking about the inspiration that you gain and you have seen from China. I think we can borrow from that. So I think the office of this clerk and speaker should arrange for more site visit and training for honorable members so that they could convey their experience and expertise in view of implementing it. Thank you. Now I invite the member for Bundung Kakunda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. I also want to join my honorable colleagues to thank the committee through the chairman and the Minister of Agriculture for coming up with this agreement. I don't want to speak much, but the only thing that I have as far as this loan agreement is concerned, whatever we are doing here, we still have to remember that we are doing it on behalf of our people. We have the ministry and his team who are the technocrats who should implement this project. Please, we are ratifying so many agreements here, but at the end of the day, what is the goal? What do we want to achieve? when we, adopt or pass this loan agreement. So far, so good. Part of the...
Honorable member, please, my attention has been drawn to the fact that you are not audible enough by the technicians. Can you please increase your volume?
Okay. So basically, as far as the benefits are concerned, about the loan agreement, I understand we will be able to have 2 state-of-the-art laboratory, which is very good. And on the side of the implementation, I think it's very clear how they are going to implement it. And in any project, whatever proposal you make, if you happen to get the project, the implementation is the main challenge. If you are able to implement it well, then you will achieve your goal. So for that being the case, the team, the ministry who is responsible to implement this particular project, I am appealing to you, let's try and implement it as it should be. Because at the end of the day, the money is just $1 million. Sometimes if you see it, you may see it as it's not that much, but at the end of the day, we are going to pay it back. And this payment is from the ordinary Gambian people. So, and I think as far as this project is concerned, yes, this will also bring some kind of community development, because if a community is identified through this mapping and they decided to understand that this area is a very good area for farming of particular crop, I think it will yield some kind of development. And at the same time, the crops that we want to grow in those particular areas will yield some economic activities in that particular area. So the other issue here is about the foreign investment that we are talking about. Yes, foreign investment is good, but as a country, I think it's high time, before we go in for foreign investment, let's try and encourage domestic investment, wherein ordinary Gambians or people who have the capacity, they can fully invest in agriculture. Because I know most of us now, everybody wants to involve in agriculture, but with this mapping project, it will definitely help people to be able to identify an area where you want to acquire your land to grow your particular crop or whatever. So for that being the case, my advice is the implementers who are going to implement this project, please, let's try and implement this project effectively. And we want, at the end of the day, the select committee to come here and tell us a success story about this particular project, because they are part of the monitoring team. So on that note, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Bundung Kakunda. I now give the floor to the member for Kantora and Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the floor. Promise you I'll be very brief, because much has been said. I didn't want to talk, but because of my chief whip asked me to talk, he's laying the report, and it's prudent that I throw my weight behind the report. Honorable Speaker, let me first of all congratulate the Minister of Agriculture for the outstanding achievement made recently in the reduction of fertilizer prices for farmers. It's worth commendation and kudos to his elbow. Having said that, I want to believe this is apt. Soil fertility mapping, if we hear it, what comes to your mind? That is the ability of the soil to give its best. It needs some scientific exploration. Gone are the days people just go into the farms and grow any outcrop and wait for the 3-month rain, germinate, farm, harvest. if you continue doing that as a nation, quality is compromised and quantity is compromised. So agriculture is now going scientific. Technology must be injected in agriculture for farmers to know that it's not anyhow land is to go and just risk your crops and wait for the 3 months harvest. It's a right move in the right direction. It's also in nexus for state to explore it what you call comparative advantage. It enables the states, it enables the community to identify what they are best at. Once you are best, if your soil mapping provide that you are best at maize production, please use it at your advantage to grow maize in bumper. If the soil mapping proves that your region is best for rice production or groundnut production, it gives you the advantage that if I grow this thing, no matter the small quantity, but the quality I will receive and the multiplier effect will really drive hunger and starvation in our communities. This is the whole essence about soil fertility mapping, to make sure that the ability of the soil is able to produce the crop or the plant, the desired results that you need at a given time. Nobody is against, because we are from farming communities, and since morning everybody spoke high about it. We appreciate that. One thing I will just give the chairman of the select committee, our own is here because Parliament is mandated that nobody can contract law in the Gambia without coming to the National Assembly for ratification. And that is why it's here for us to ratify. Having done that, your job kickstarts, not only ratifying, but to make sure you conduct the necessary oversight functions to make sure that the raison d'etre, the rationale behind this loan to be contracted on behalf of citizens of this country is made into best use. Time has come for us to make sure that we speak the truth to itself. It's one thing to stand here because we are privileged to represent our people. We are given the power and the mandate to contract a loan on their behalf, but justice will guide our actions. And in doing so, we want the select committee to give quarterly report, if need be, or every 6-month report to the Assembly, the status of implementation and the intended beneficiary. Parliament will engage you, the Assembly authority will engage you to make sure that we want to see the desired results. When you go back to our constituencies, we can proudly raise our heads that we've contributed in one way or the other in uplifting the lives of people we represent. Honorable Speaker, having said that, I thank you so much for indulgence. I don't want us to take more time because we have other 3 agendas on the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Member for Kantora and Majority Leader. Member for Fonyi Bondali is out. Is there anyone that I miss? Yes, that's all. Now I will, at this juncture, invite the Honorable Minister of Agriculture to come and take part in the debate.
Speaker, I have an observation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to have the floor and make some clarification. And thank you, Mr. Chairman of the Agriculture Subcommittee. And I also want to thank the entire House and the entire Committee for Agriculture for your dedication and commitment to agriculture. And I think this is manifested in the report, and it's also manifested in the contributions from all the members in this August House. Your oversight function is a great addition to our work, and I think I will urge you to continue with your oversight function. It helps us as ministry and also helps the country. I want to reassure some of the speakers here, especially the cereal man, who thought there is no Dempeteng anymore in the country. As we speak, there is harvest going on in the MP for Janjambure. His area is harvesting, and I know there's serious harvest going on at Wasu. So, exactly. So, there is harvest going on for the dry season production. And I think you'll be able to get Dempeteng from there. When we come back to the topic at hand was about the soil fertility mapping, which I think our chairperson here has done excellent work. That the last time this was done was in 1985 or in the 80s. So I think it is compelling as a country to undergo a soil fertility mapping. And also, he has made it very clear that this is an investment requirement. It's not only a luxury, or it's not only something that we can sell for the future. Most credible investors will even check for this even before they get to the Gambia. This report, once this project takes hold, you, me, and anybody else will be able to access this report from the convenience of your own home. This is not going to be a record that is kept at the Ministry of Agriculture that you have to fill a form to access. It's going to be web-based and everybody can access it. So credible investors will access this information before they come to the Gambia. And that aside, this is a sub-regional project. This ISDB project is for 6 countries. I think he has mentioned it. Gambia being the smallest, but in proportionality, we benefited the most, because if Sierra Leone is getting 1 million and Gambia is getting 1 million, I think that we got better than Sierra Leone. And if Guinea is getting 2 million and we're still getting 1 million, looking at the population, I think we've done very well. So just to give it a context. Also, this is being implemented by NARI and the Soil and Water Management Unit of the Department of Agriculture. Just to highlight few important things regarding the need for NARI and soil water management. In my previous appearance here, most members expressed concern about agriculture staff leaving the ministry or the department and going to projects. Also, highly qualified people may even officially resign because it was more attractive. And that is why these projects are designed, this one specifically, to not be a standalone project. It is going to be implemented through our institutions, and no staff is going to resign to go to the projects. They're just going to get a little extra allowance to make sure that this is implemented. And I think that is worth commending. Another thing worth mentioning here is the fact that we've been sending our soil samples overseas. And I think this is going to put an end to it. Not only put an end to the unreliable results, because results can change in the process when you are transporting the sample, but also it's a way of gaining revenue. It's very expensive to go and do soils testing. So if you're going to pay for that at NARI, I think that is going to add value to what NARI will do. And the fact that these 2 state-of-the-art labs will be built, one in soil and water management and one at NARI, this means even after the project wraps up in 3 years, the country will continue to benefit because the labs will still be there and our personnel would have been trained, so the process will continue. So your support for this is immensely great for the country, and it is necessary for us to move agriculture to a different level, because like a speaker just alluded to, agriculture is now evidence-based and it must be backed by science. So I think this study is evidence-based and is backed by science. So honestly, I wish to thank you more than I ever have done, that you are supporting this project. It is going to greatly add value to the Ministry of Agriculture. And apart from the $1 million that is going to come from ISDB at a very concessionary rate, of course, 1 to 1.5% is very, very low, but the Minister of Finance will give you those details if you need to know. The government of the Gambia is contributing in kind. And the in-kind part, I know there was a question here, what is the in-kind aspect of the contribution of the Ministry of Agriculture or the government? The project is only buying one vehicle, and I think that is worth commending that in the past, Ministry of Agriculture have been castigated for being very vehicle-friendly. So this project is only buying one vehicle, and of course, to be able to go around the whole country, you know, it requires a lot more vehicles. So the government of the Gambia will be doing that, using existing Ministry of Agriculture vehicles to at least complement whatever this project will buy. That is part of the contribution. And also the labs, they're only buying the equipment. The buildings are already going to be there at NARI and at Soil and Water Management. So the provision of the space and the buildings is part of the kind contribution from the government. And also the staff type. When we say staff are going to be compensated between $300 to $500, that is those that are involved directly in the project. And not every NARI staff is going to be given an allowance. Not every soil and water management staff is going to be given an allowance. But nonetheless, either directly or indirectly, all of them will be involved in making this a reality. So their time is also calculated as part of government's contribution. But not to take much of your time, I am very grateful for the support I have seen in the House, and I hope your attention that you focused on agriculture will continue. We see this as help. Your oversight function is adding value to us, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I call on the Honorable Minister to make it comments based on Order 25-2. Based on Order 25-2, the Assembly shall allow time for the Vice President or a Minister to speak whenever any bill or other matter concerning a department or other business of government committed to his or her charge is debated. Thank you very much. Now I call on the member for Opanyomi and Chair to wind up the debate.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to respond to the members' concern. Well, first of all, let me thank the entire Committee of Agriculture and Rural Development, the subject matter specialists, the clerks to the committee, the support staff, for the tremendous support they have rendered during the process of developing this report. Yeah, Honorable Speaker, the members have some serious concern the way and the manner the agriculture projects are implemented. I think that is noted by the minister, by the technicians from CPCU, and even those who are not around, the implementing partners who may be listening to this deliberation, that they should take notes, that the honorable members of the Gambian National Assembly are very much concerned the way and the manner the agriculture projects are implemented. I think there's a need for them to change if there's anything unscrupulous going around. When the members are insinuating that things are not going right, and if that is so, then there's a need for attitudinal change. Honorable Speaker, the members have advised the Minister of Agriculture and the personnel to work towards project goals within the stipulated time given by the project. Many of the projects within the Ministry of Agriculture, there are time of implementing certain activities elapse. up to an extent that we were saying that the subsequent project commitments will be taken over. And this is not healthy as far as the agricultural development of this country is concerned. So there is a need for people to change. Honorable Speaker, members also so concerned in the face of adversity, like the world is facing today from COVID-19. Now we are in the Ukraine and Russia war. Members are concerned that in the possible near future, the world might go into food crisis. So there's need for Minister of Agriculture to double up their efforts. They strive towards food security. Food security for this country is a must. We either produce or we perish. We either do or we die. Because Ukraine war have taught West that depending on fossil fuel, I've been saying it here, to them it's not sustainable. So they want to shift to biofuel. So in the near future, there'll be competition between industry and human on food. Serious competition if they go by their suggestion. So on that note, the Ministry of Agriculture needs to take note. They should be ready to take up the challenge.
Please, Honorable Member, can you speak up a bit louder, please?
Okay. So that's what I'm trying to insinuate, that Honorable Speaker, it's a matter of must for this country to achieve self-sufficiency. And this is this particular project goals. That's a soil fertility mapping project to ensure that every piece of land in this country is known digitally of what type of crop can do best in that piece of land. And therefore, we thank the honorable members for their contribution, for their advices, for their concerns they raise, and we hope and pray that the Minister of Agriculture and this honorable House do everything possible for this country to achieve self-sufficiency. Thank you so much.
Yes, member for Birkamanot, a minority leader.
Honorable Speaker, I think I want to remind the honorable member, I raised a point and I want the committee to make a position.
I forgot your specific question.
Before you, please note that down before you respond. It's almost half an hour before the appointed time.
Yeah, sorry. And the honorable member asked about the
honorable member for Opanyomi, please. I said it's half an hour before the appointed time. Can anyone move that we sit beyond that? The member for Opasalo.
I rise to move a motion first to I am the mover, right? So listen. I rise to move a motion forced to sit beyond 6 o'clock and do work to finish.
Any second there?
You guys second the motion.
That's not...
Thank you. Thank you. No. It has been moved. Oh. Seconded it already. It has been moved and seconded that we sit beyond 6 o'clock to finish business on the order paper. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no.
No. Counter motion. No, counter motion.
The ayes have it.
No, we leave you here. We leave you here and go home. We were here up to after 12 yesterday.
Member for Opanyomi, continue.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Honorable member for Birkamanot and minority leader asked for a specific question about our recommendation 1. The project should be implemented by personnel serving in an existing institutions of Minister of Agriculture without him or her leaving the position he or she is occupying in the institution. The reason for this recommendation, honorable member, is first of all for sustainability purpose. Two, to serve as a retention mechanism. You see, honorable Mr. Sell is here. How qualified personnel are moving from their institution following the projects. So like when they stay and you give them that opportunity to be the coordinators of this project within their institution and the very office they are serving, they will stay. And the knowledge they are gaining will be transferred to the youngs that are working under them. But when they keep on shifting, moving, there will be no sustainability, there will be no retention, and there will be no skills and knowledge transfer from them to the youngsters. That's what the purpose we deliberately, specifically bring this particular recommendation. I hope you are satisfied. Thank you. What about the project genesis? Yes, in conclusion, we are urging all the honorable members to please support and ratify this particular. Yes, but the recommendation has said clearly. We have been saying but it's clear in the recommendation that we have agreed on every member. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, honorable member. This is a good time also to invite the mover of the loan agreement to also wind up the debate before I put the question on both the report and the loan agreement. The Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs.
Honorable Speaker and esteemed members of the National Assembly and the members of the Agriculture Subcommittee of the National Assembly, it is my singular pleasure and honor to listen to the rich debate which formed the basis and support for the bill being tabled for ratification, which is an amount of $1 million to be used for the soil fertility. And given that the last soil fertility research that was conducted was in 1980, it means 43 years our farming community has been farming without any applied knowledge. This $1 million loan facility is an investment in applied research to make informed decisions for agricultural productivity. And it shows the commitment of the government to ensure that our activities are policy and research-based and not to do business as usual. And I'm sure it will go a long way to enhance the productivity of the agricultural sector. On that note, I thank you all for your fruitful contribution and your concurrence. I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Member? Now, Honorable Member.
Point of observation, 14, order of business. Mr. Speaker, I have looked at the order paper, and it only states the laying of papers and reports, and it says the report of the Select Committee on Agriculture on Finance Agreement between the government, and it only states the report, but it doesn't actually state that we can ratify. I think that is not on the order paper. It needs to be agreed as it states on order 14.3. You can present it, but it must be approved by this plenary before it can be included to be ratified, because it only states the report and not the actual loan agreement. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, I have a point of observation, please. A point of clarification, sorry.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think on the order paper, as she rightly mentioned, we only have the report of the select committee being tabled before us. So I don't know if there is any possible way of, us ratifying the agreement. Let it be clear to us before we adjourn business, please.
Honorable Minority Leader, I saw your tag. Member for Woolly East, before I...
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I think what the member for Banjul South said is correct. What we are debating and what is before us is the report of the committee. We gave them assignment to go and inquire into the thing, and they have brought the report. We debated on the report, so we should adopt the report and then move on. Move on to the next item.
Minority Leader and member for Brikama North.
Yes, I think that when we were doing that side discussion, this was what I was trying to put to you. That's why I kept on emphasizing that report will be incomplete if they fail to mention that the committee is calling on the plenary to adopt the loan agreement. But that's why we advised them. And I did observe that from all that they talk about, there is no negative part of it. Yes, the impression is that they are telling us to adopt, but they should mention that we are advised to adopt. Now, when that is done, the next move is for us to go back to the loan agreement. And that one, it is not on the chairperson of agriculture to move that, but the minister. I think that's where the mistake lies. If we want to do both, we could have captured that in the order paper today, so that both can be treated. Immediately after adopting this, they can move on and then adopt that one. But when that is not done, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, when that is not done, what we can do is only to adopt the report that we will be approving the loan agreement. But if the order paper is not amended, I don't think procedurally it is proper for us to do it today, maybe a later day.
Member for Kantora.
Yeah, similarly, the minister has already laid this report, the loan agreement. And this very plenary now refer it to the select committee to guide the assembly to take their time and peruse through and come and advise us for accepting it or otherwise. I think that's exactly what they have done. They are coming here is that to report back delegated responsibility by the plenary for them to go and do due diligence and come here and advise us to accept. I think in their recommendation, they have already set out the recommendation, advising the plenary to adopt. So it's about we putting the vote now, accepting the report upon the assignment given to them, ratifying this thing. That is it.
Now, okay, we will talk. Banjul South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've ratified so many loan agreements here, and anything that is brought is referred to committees, and the committees would direct us, and it is not mandatory for this plenary to accept everything that is recommended in the committee report. Yes, we really appreciate the report and we recommend that it will be ratified, but let us take due process. We are adopting the report. If you go through order 14.3, the order of the business may be varied by the speaker. You can change the order of the business and it can be approved, but we must approve the report and then you vary the order and then we approve and we ratify the loan. We are not saying we are not ratifying. We are only respecting the order paper of the day. That is all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, I will allow the member for Latikunda Sabiji, then
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. I just want to implore on the honorable members, something is very urgent here, and we have to escalate the urgency of the matter. For me, the report, even the report was talking and mentioning on the loan. So for me, I don't think we need to delegate this to another committee to scrutinize this loan. Let's just put everything together to make sure.
A member for Upper Salum.
Yeah, no, thank you. I was just trying to observe my sister here about the varying of the order of business. You know, when you talk about varying, it's not bringing in a new item. You are talking about the business that we have today. You can vary depending on the, what comes first, what comes second. But if she's talking about, particularly about the ratification, which is not actually showing here, that the varying cannot qualify for that. Yeah.
Now, honorable members, majority, please. Honorable members, what we have is the report on the loan agreement. It was referred to the committee for the committee to look at it on behalf of the National Assembly, recommend either its passage or not, or otherwise. And the committee have indeed recommended and they have given a clean bill of health to the loan agreement, which all members who took the floor supported and endorsed the report and the loan agreement. Passing the report, technically, the Assembly have passed the loan agreement. No, let me finish first. Let me finish minority. That is why I said I gave the floor to the Minister of Finance who moved the motion, also to respond and wind up the debate. After which, I will put the question for the report to be adopted. Once it is adopted, it's just a matter of procedure, putting another question for the loan agreement to be approved by this Assembly. Now, and that is a settled practice. I want to thank everyone. Minority, please, please allow me to proceed, please.
Speaker, can I ask a question, please? Yeah, who seconded the motion? Mr. Speaker, who seconded the minister's motion? Was it seconded, the motion?
No, you don't need to second the motion today because it was made and seconded.
It was moved and seconded. Please, clerk, minority. Minority.
Speaker. Observation.
Who are you observing?
The procedure, the procedure.
No. No.
I'm observing the procedure.
No. No.
I say I'm observing the procedure. You say no. You are a dictator.
Please, please. When I finish, you can observe the procedures. After I finish, sir.
No, not before you finish, because you may do the wrong thing.
No, let me finish.
What you have explained is the wrong way.
I will come back to you.
Okay.
When I finish. Please.
Don't put it to us.
No, when I finish, I'll come back to you. No, sir, please don't threaten to leave, please. No, no. This is democracy. You either say yes or no.
Don't worry. If you leave, we will stay.
Now, I want to thank everyone, and let me put the question. Be it resolved that this Honorable Assembly do adopt the report of the Select Committee on Agriculture on the financing agreement between the Government of the Gambia and the Islamic Development Bank on the Regional Soil Fertility Mapping Project, GMB 1033, amounting to US $1 million United States dollars, March 2023. Those in favor, please. With amendment. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Let me now put the question on the loan agreement. Be it resolved that this Honorable Assembly do ratify the financing agreement between the Government of the Gambia and the Islamic Development Bank on the Regional Soil Fertility Mapping Project, GMB 1033, amounting to US $1 million United States dollars, March 2023. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Thank you. Clerk.
Thank you. Motion. Be it resolved that this August Assembly do consider and ratify the revolving line of credit agreement between the Government of the Gambia and Badia for trade finance facility for importation of petroleum products, food and other essential commodities from African and Arab countries amounting to $50 million US by the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs.
Honorable Minister.
Hello. Honorable Speaker, I rise to invite this August Assembly to ratify the Badia revolving line of credit of an amount of $50 million trade finance facility for the importation of petroleum products, food, and other essential commodities in the Gambia from the African Arab countries of Badia. Honorable Speaker, the government of the Gambia launched the National Development Plan 2018 to 2023, in which it aims to deliver good governance and accountability, social cohesion, and national reconciliation, and a revitalized and transformed economy for the well-being of all Gambians. One of the 8 strategic pillars of the NDP is to make the private sector the engine of growth, transformation, and creation. In the last quarter of 2022, the Gambian economy experienced an acute shortage of foreign exchange, particularly the United States dollars, that hampered the private sector's ability to provide staple and essential goods such as rice, grains, and other essential commodities like petroleum at competitive prices. The dire situation led to the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs soliciting support from BADIA to provide a US $50 million trade finance facility geared towards the importation of the aforementioned items. Honorable Speaker, in accordance with the aforementioned strategic priority of the NDP, BADIA commits to provide support to the Gambia government through the aforementioned trade finance facility, which will provide an inflow of foreign exchange to ease the importation of the essential commodities. The overarching goal of the trade finance facility is to infuse foreign currency to facilitate the essential commodity importation. The facility is meant to promote bulk supply of the aforementioned with the aim to stabilize prices in the short to medium term. And the modus operandi of the most of the private businesses is limited supply of goods to a few dozen container imports into the domestic market, with very little export or re-export to neighboring countries. This creates the price instability when supply runs low, as bulk supply lessens the constant need for Forex to cater for frequent imports. This results in the aforementioned foreign exchange shortage, thereby exacerbating the dollar-C to dollar depreciation witnessed in the country, particularly over the last year. With the BADIA Trade Finance Facility, emphasis is placed on importers of similar items working in tandem to boost supply. This will also lead to its expected lower prices for the final consumers. Honorable Speaker, the signing of the Trade Finance Facility went through a series of stakeholder consultations, including the stakeholders from the diverse sectors of government, such as the Ministry of Trade, Office of the President, and essential commodity importers. The terms of the finance facilities are at a fee of 3 months LIBOR or SOFR plus 3% per annum, and the facility fee of 1% of the facility, appraisal fee of 0.5%, and the commitment fee of 0.5%, legal fees $20,000, and total financing cost is about $770,000. The above terms may not be borne by the government, but rather it will be borne by the private sector participants who will take up this facility. This facility has been purely acquired on behalf of our private sector for them to be able to have access to dollars to facilitate the importation, and government will not bear this cost, but rather the cost will be borne by the private sector operators who are now invited to take advantage of the facility to address the dollar shortage. Honorable Speaker, the National Assembly is hereby invited to consider and ratify the signed revolving line of credit with BADIA for the effectiveness of the trade finance facility and to ensure the importation of essential commodities such as petroleum, food, and other essential commodities to the Republic of the Gambia to ensure an enhanced supply side and the concomitant reduction in the price of the essential commodities. In the light of the foregoing, I respectively submit to this August Assembly the aforementioned credit agreement for your consideration and ratification. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any seconder? Any seconder? Member for Upper Salem. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion. for the ratification of this revolving line of credit. I think maybe before we start, I think we need to be very clear about the need to have such. Because the issue of high commodity pricing in this country and petroleum products, and if you remember last year, I'm not too sure about amounts this year, I think government actually was losing almost over $1 billion in subsidies that we were giving in the petroleum sector, just to ensure that they are very affordable. And I think there is also a lot of noise about the high cost of commodities in this country. So if you dig deep and find out really what's actually happening, when we realize that a part of the problem is not only high cost that we are buying from, but also the high foreign exchange that businessmen actually have to get to be able to import from those companies outside the Gambia. Now, when the dollar goes up, for example, the value of the dollar, when it goes up against any foreign currency, those of us actually in this country, in this part of the world, that actually make importations and pay in dollars, you're going to realize that we're going to have an issue. That means now we have to pay more dollars to be able to import. Now, the banking sector we have in this country, whether it's going to be able to sustain what we do, you guess what? Not all the time we're able to sustain that. And that's the reason why sometimes you'll see the central bank will intervene to provide dollars for the businesses so that they can actually buy them at a lower rate to be able to import. And the net effect is when you import at a lower rate, for example, the dollars that you buy, then you can actually, that's going to help you to control your prices. The more prices you pay for the dollar, the higher that the commodities that we're going to have in this country. So having such a facility, which is revolving, meaning you take it when you need it. You are not obliged to take. You only take it when you need it to be able to buy, particularly to support the private sector. And I think the private sector of any nation, they are the sakers and the bakers of the economy. And I think there's a need, or there's a great need for us to see how best we can support them for the importation. And I remember a few months ago, you realized when the central bank actually had to step in to help them with dollars so that they can actually import, particularly petroleum products, the essential commodities. So I think this is a step in the right direction. I think one of the questions I had was, if you look at these are things, facilities that you actually have to pay. Interest, arrangement fee, legal fees, and stuff like that. If you do the math and look at it, you realize that if we draw down everything, the facility fee will be 1% of the amount, which is about mathematically about $500,000. Then you look at the appraisal fees as well, it's also talking about 0.5% of the facility amount, and that's about $250,000. And then comes in the commitment fees and then the legal fees. So altogether, you're talking about $1 million if we take everything as as some of the fees for this particular facility. That's the interest fees and the payment. Now, the question is, who is going to bear this? I know that the minister said they're going to do this on behalf of the private sector. So I want to be clear that all these fees also is going to be inbuilt in the amount that you're going to sell to the private sector. We have to be sure, because we are taking it on their behalf, which means any cost that is associated with taking this money has to be borne by them at the same time. So I want that to be very clear. Now, outside that, the other question I have for the minister, I'm in for this revolving. The Badia, is it that they can only give our loans in dollars, or there are other currencies? Because we need to be really very tactical sometimes in the way we take our loans. Because we know the dollar always appreciates in value compared to other currencies. Sometimes the euro will go, but sometimes they are parity. But sometimes for the most part, the dollar will. So why not we start also thinking, if we have another currency like CFA franc, that is not actually appreciating in value, why not we start also looking at taking the loan in that particular currency, which is going to actually help us to stabilize? And that's why I want to ask this question, whether we can only take in dollars or we can also look at other currencies. If we are able to look at other currencies, maybe sometime we have to do cost-benefit analysis to see whether we are better off to take it in dollars or we are better to take it in another currency. And then see, because at the end of the day, you have to pay. So now, the last question I have for the minister is how can we help to stabilize these differences? Because again, when you give out the dollars, these people, the business people, they will pay you in dollars, I assume. They'll pay you in dollars. Now, how would you be able to balance it out? That now you are losing the dollars, they're going away, but you are getting dollars. how would you control the market to ensure that at least we have enough dollars to be able to do other aspects of the business in this country? On that note, I rise to support this, pending the answers from the minister. Thank you.
I now put the question. It has been moved and seconded that this Honorable Assembly do consider the revolving line of credit agreement between the government of the Gambia and Badia for trade finance facility for importation of petroleum products, food, and other essential commodities from African and Arab countries amounting to US 50 million United States dollars. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Any honorable member who wishes to take part in the debate may do so now by show of constituency tag. Beginning with the member for Latikunda Sabiji.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor, and I thank the Honorable Minister for bringing this before the National Assembly. My worry is the trend of this government borrowing money. Historically, when President Jammeh came to power, 30 years of Jawara's rule was 19 billion. President Jammeh came and ruled this country for 22 good years. The loan amount was 52 billion. This government, just less than 7 years, accumulated a loan amount of close to 100 billion. Honorable Minister, this is very worrying, and this is very disturbing, and this is not sustainable. Jawara's 30 years plus President Jammeh's 22 years, 52 years. Your loan amount less than 6 years is more than these two regimes. This is very worrying, and this trend cannot continue. Now, my question to you, if we approve this loan, what will be the pumping price of the fuel? Because we expect it to come down, because this is coming by way of subsidy. And to close my presentation, let's be very frank. Government cannot subsidize fuel in this country, and it's high time government pull themselves in order and tell Gambians that we cannot continue to subsidize fuel. It's not possible. This is not possible. The more we want to subsidize the fuel, the more we are going to take loan on and on and on. So it's high time that we take politics out of this fuel issue and tell Gambians that we cannot subsidize fuel. This is the fact. We started this session today, 12 o'clock. Now it's less than 7 hours. We approved 51 million loan. So this is very disturbing, Honorable Minister, and I don't think this can continue further. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now the member for Fonyi Bintang Karanai.
Thank you so very much, Honorable Speaker. As the member for Latrikunda State, we are worried that the government have no plan to generate funds except through loan. And what is surprising is they will tell us loan, credit, just to keep on confusing some of the members. I think the government must develop plans on how to generate funds, not to depend on loan constantly without rest. And the loan that you are taking, there is no certainty that your government is going to last longer. But then you are taking this loan because you just want to satisfy the few individuals as of present. Because you know that you will not be in a position to pay those loans. What will happen to the next government that will come? This is actually a worrisome situation, that we bent on signing loan agreement. And at the end of the day, the implementation of those loans will not be seen. Some of those monies will be used for politics, which is the sad part of this. I think it is right time for us to come up with initiatives on how to generate funds. Because loans we are paying them, and also we are paying them on interest base, which is a worrisome situation that we are in as we speak. With all the loan that we are accumulating, the life of the Gambian people is not improving. our livelihood is not, the livelihood of our people are not at all improving. So I think it is right time for us to go back to the drawing board and stop taking these loans. Because these loans is a way of hanging Africans. It's a way of enslaving us. Why are we not taking this loan in dollars? But we are signing loan not in dollars, but dollars and dollars and dollars, because our money is depreciating day in, day out. Why is the value of the money depreciating? You tell us that because of foreign exchange, but not only because of foreign exchange, because of constant loan that we are taking. If the government have no plan to generate fund, please leave the seat and allow someone who can come and who knows how to generate fund and come and generate fund for the nation. But I want to urge the honorable members present here. The loan that we are taking, we will be accountable for it. And even if we are going, if we die, if these loans are not paid, wallahi, in the hereafter we will pay for this.
Can I observe you?
We are the people that are taking this loan. My able chair.
Can I observe?
I am on my feet.
I understand that. That's why I'm asking.
No, you can't. Thanks. Even in the hereafter, we'll be accountable for the loans that we are taking here. So it is good that we put our house in order and let this government have a clear vision and let it have aims and objectives on how to develop, on how to generate funds. I thank you so very much.
Thank you, the member for Fonye Bintang Karanai. I'm not so honorable members what he's saying, that I'm not so whether he was clear that even if we die, we are going to be accountable, we are going to pay the loan or the state. I now give the floor to the member for Brikama South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, the business before us is a loan agreement, a revolving line of credit agreement, purposely for the importation of petroleum products, food, and essential commodities. As a nation, we are very much worried, especially when you come to these areas. If you look at it, you are telling us that this loan is taken on behalf of the private sector, and they have to be responsible for the payment of it, which I need some clarification when it comes to how will private sector pay this thing. And I'm trying to connect it to the citizenry, the end users of this thing. These are the electorate and the citizens of this country. If the private sector is going to take this loan, is it going to affect the cost of these commodities that we are talking about? Currently, we all know that there is no margin model between the source of income and cost of living. There's huge disparity. People are crying every day, especially when it comes to the essential commodities. These are major problems. Even some of the MPs leave their vehicle at home because they don't have fuel. They don't have fuel to bring in their cars to the National Assembly. So if this is coming, if this loan is also taken on behalf of the private sector, which we believe is going to affect the essential commodities that include food and petroleum, I want to believe that, don't you think this is going to be a major burden? A major burden on the populace. These are big, big problems. And if you go through it, the area of interest payment, the facility fee, that's attracting 1%, and you're talking about appraisal fee of 0.5%, commitment fee of 0.5%, legal fee of $20,000. That is non-refundable. So I don't know what arrangement is with Badia. But if you go further, there is also late payment where we have a default charge of 3%. These are issues, and specifically these loans are going to be paid in dollar. And as alluded to by the previous speaker, the dollar is always appreciating. So if this is taken right now and there is a grace period of repayment, I am worried whether it's not going to attract huge amount of money in order to recover this. And may I ask this interesting question, Honorable Minister? You know the budget component we have for 2023 fiscal year, the revenue that comprises of tax and non-tax revenue stands at 16.8 billion. And we have a project and program grant that is 14 billion. Are you telling us this loan that we are taking is part of the 14 billion? And also we are almost halfway into the fiscal year. We need to know actually how much has been attained in those budget lines, whether our budget is even going to be realistic or not. Because these are things that we definitely need to know. And if you look at the trend in which the debt burden is going, almost close to 100 billion, and coming to consume all these things, which is, to me, to be very much honest with you, this 50 million is not very much friendly in terms of payment. The concessionality here is always questioned. So I want to know actually whether this is part of that budget line, the budget line for the 2023, the 14 billion that we're talking about, program and project grants. If it is there, we want to know. And I know in other engagement, we would like to send in issues regarding the budget execution. Almost we are at halfway, how much has been attained. To be very much honest with you, Honorable Speaker, we have an issue. We have an issue regarding this loan, which I believe that the arrangement with Badia sometimes I am worried. I think what is the whole idea of taking this huge amount of money on behalf of the private sector? Whether there was a kind of need assessment, whether this is going to reduce burden on the essential commodities that we are talking about. Everybody in this country is really crying. Even to get food, you know, we are all authorities. One way or another, we are confronted in all fronts. People find it difficult to survive. So whether that assessment has been done, is it going to reduce the food items and the essential commodities you're talking about? Whether it's going to impact negatively by adding. So these are our issues, and we need to be very much clear with these things. It's going to be difficult. We have a problem as a National Assembly. So sometimes things are coming into us. We find it difficult to be able to digest exactly what is happening. So we need some clarification before we ascribe to the acceptance of this particular loan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now recognize the member for Woolly East.
Very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the objective of this agreement, as stated in the document, is requesting for a revolving loan or revolving trade finance facility, as it is called here. And the amount is $50 million, which we can use to import petroleum, to import food, and other commodities. And these commodities can come from either Africa or from Arab countries. Honorable Speaker, if you look at point 2.03 in the document, is the availability period of the facility is 12 months. And that should be calculated from the first withdrawal. So if you look at 50 million, one can estimate that to be something like 3 billion or 3.2 billion. Now, if we also look at the interest payment date to Badia on the amount disbursed and outstanding will be at 3-month term, SOFR, which the ministers will help us. What does that mean? Float to zero. That is plus 3%. So I take that to be the interest rate for the loan. So we will call on the Honorable Minister to please help explain that. Honorable Speaker, if you go to 3.06 on the document, 3.06, it says, I'll quote, interest and fees for the facilities shall be computed on a daily basis. And for this purpose, each year shall be considered to consist of 360 days. So it's 360 days. This 50 million should be paid. Now, if you look at the issue of late payment, Honorable Speaker, that's section 308. Without prejudice to the remedies available to Badia under the agreement, this agreement or otherwise, if the borrower fails to make any payment of interest, principal, or any other payment due on its due date, pursuant to this agreement, the borrower shall pay a default charge at a rate of 3% per annum above the applicable interest rate in respect of such due and unpaid amount. Such default charge shall be applicable from the date any such amount became due until the date of the actual payment. So we are taking $50 million loan to get into some form of business relating to fuel and food. So we must be very prudent in dealing with this, because at the end of the year, we're going to pay this money plus interest, etc., etc. Honorable Speaker, if we also look at 3.10 on the taxes, maybe we'll need the minister's explanation. It says all payments of principal, interest, and other amounts due under this agreement shall be made without any deduction for or on account of any set of counterclaim taxes, duties, fees, or other charges. This should be explained better by the minister. In my view, it should be known whether deductions are to be made or what type of deductions, that there will be withholding of tax from the payments that we will be making to Badia. Because what it is saying here, in the event that the borrower is required by law to make any deductions or withholding for taxes from any payment to Badia, then the amount of payment due from the borrower will be increased to an amount which, after making the deduction, leaves an amount equal to the full amount to which Badia would have received if such deduction or withholding had not been made. So, there too, we will need an explanation. That's what I'm saying. Before they got into this contract, it should have already been known that this situation will arise and we are going to deduct this and deduct that. But if we say, if there is going to be any, it means that it's not clear. It's not so. And that this is an agreement we are going into. Honorable Speaker, this is an agreement when we look at it carefully, we'll see that the way it is computed in terms of the type of payments we are going to make. Let me look quickly. For example, if you go to facility fee, we are going to pay facility fee, we are going to pay appraisal fee, we're going to pay commitment fee, we are going to pay legal fees. And we are also going to pay $20,000 immediately it is signed. If you add all this, Honorable Speaker, in addition to the 3%, it's like it is taking us up to 5% plus of the total sum. So if we say 5% of $50 million, that may take us up to 1.02 billion. And then in addition to the total. So we are taking a very interesting, or getting into a very interesting agreement, which we must pursue with prudence. Otherwise, any failure would be very disturbing to this country. Honorable Speaker, if you also look at 3.0, yeah, I think I've done that. But if you look at 3.80, late payment, let me read it also. If the borrower, that's the interest part, if the borrower fails to make any payment of interest, principal, or any other payment due on its date, pursuant to this agreement, the borrower shall pay a default charge. So we must be, like I said, religiously ensure that this loan, when taken, really does justice to the Gambian people. Otherwise, we are going to fall into a trap, and the minister must come back here again to take tax money again to pay this loan, which we don't want. The other issue I want to also ask is the policy that the government have is liberal, that they are not going to engage into business, into petrol business or into any business. So they are taking this loan. The money is guaranteed by the government. And then when it is taken, how would the businessmen access the loan? And how would they pay back the loan to the government to ensure that the government does not lose? That should be clear to us. We want the minister to explain clearly to us what is the process. When the money is taken, it's given to the state. But what process does the state use to give it? I would have thought that, Honorable Speaker, that this type of loan is better dealt with by just domestic borrowing. We go to our own bank, we take loan there in dollars, and we pay back in dollars. Instead of taking, they are importing. Because you are importing, if you take dollars, you pay in dollars again. But one good thing may come out of this is that, because many countries are living, but it's only 1 year also. But otherwise, many countries are doing local business in their own local currencies, and that is likely to affect the dollar in the near future. And if that happens, since we are taking this in dollars, when the dollar comes down, we are supposed to pay back in dollars. Maybe that will help us a little bit. But other than that, I see this thing to be a very difficult agreement. And we're talking about petroleum, but it's not only petroleum, also food. To import food and other essential commodities. So how would the minister help us to understand that by so doing, we will not be increasing inflation by bringing all these dollars here through this type of thing, but instead we will be able to stabilize inflation. I think those are some of the explanations that I would require. So, Honorable Speaker, on that note, I thank the minister for innovating. And if the innovation succeeds, we'll clap. If it fails, we'll come back here and get into our budget, because this is statutory. It's the state that is taking loan on behalf of business people. That's how I understand it. So we are guaranteeing our businessmen that they will do justice to our public funds, and if they don't, then we bear the brunt of the crisis. Our people will continue to suffer and suffer. So on that note, I thank you for your time. Thank you.